What's up, Conquerors? I've got an exciting video for you today, which is going to talk about the Dark Age Rush. Out of the guides I suggested, it was the most voted upon, and after this we'll go through the blacksmith upgrades in the next guide, and then after that a micro guide, and after that, who knows? We'll get some good stuff in there. So today we're going to be talking about the Dark Age Rush. So not to bore you in this intro, but there's many Dark Age rushes out there, but what we're going to focus on today specifically is the Mongol civilization. Now you can take the basics in this video and the key concepts and apply them to any civilization that you want to do a Dark Age rush with. There are of course civilizations that are more adept at doing it, like Mongol, Japan, House of Lancaster, Holy Roman Empire, Order of the Dragon. There's a lot of civilizations that are good at the Dark Age rush and can complete those. But today we're really going to focus in on the Mongols, since they have multiple types of Dark Age rushes: the Tower Rush, the Spear Rush, the Horseman Rush, which all have their own aspects and pros and cons to doing them. And so I'm going to talk through some key concepts in this video. That includes the specifics, which is your base setup and your build order. Then we're going to talk about why we do this Dark Age rush. Deny resources, delay enemy gold units, delay enemy fast castle. And mainly, one of the main things I want to talk about are what civs is it good against, what civs is it kind of neutral against, for lack of a better term. And then what civs do you really not want to Dark Age rush, because it just doesn't work if you have a good opponent against you. And then after we go through the basic concepts, I'm going to take you through several games where I have done Dark Age rushes. I've done a lot of Dark Age rushes over my time of playing Age of Empires 4. But I'll take you through some different Dark Age rushes against different civilizations, what I did, why, explain what I'm doing when, and we'll see how it works. So to everyone watching, appreciate you watching the video. And if you get something out of this video, please drop a like. Subscribe to the channel. You can always join the channel if you'd like to support it, which is a button below this video. And let's get into it. Thanks for watching. What's up, Conquerors? In this specific part of the video, I'm actually going to show you the build order I use. I never do build orders, but I think for the Dark Age Rush specifically, it's really important to show you. I'm going to show you how the Tower Rush build order works. You can take that and you can still apply it to just a Spear Rush or Horseman Rush, and I'll explain how. So first, I'm just going to show you the basics of how to do a Tower Rush build order. You deploy your town center here, get the villagers to go chop wood at the town center, send one villager to the Uvu to build it, rally the sheep to the town center, where you'll immediately queue up villagers. You'll have 5 villagers chopping wood. You're going to send the Khan immediately to the enemy base. If you see any neutral sheep, you can actually use the Gur to deploy an extra neutral sheep. I'm actually fighting against a Mongol AI, which is a pretty terrible civ to show you the Tower Rush against, but that's okay. I just randomed the AI. So we can use this Gur to pick up the couple of straggler sheep here. And so right now you can see we're just rallying out to sheep. Our villagers are going to gather a sheep here. I've already scouted the Mongol base with the scouting eagle, scouting falcon. So I know where I need to deploy the tower. I'm going to leave 3 villagers on wood. And I'm going to use one of the wood villagers to build a barracks, send one to food. So now I have 3 on wood, the rest on food. And when the villager finishes building the barracks, he will go rally to food. My Gur's captured 2 extra sheep, and I am doing this live, so you kind of see how it's happening in real action, right? So just keep my Khan out here scouting and picking up sheep. And then I'm going to rush his gold in this specific instance. So what I like to do is let these spearmen spawn in advance. Once this villager gets his 10 wood, I'll send him out with the spearmen, right? So now we're just rallying out to food. We have 2 villagers left on wood. One of them's going out to build a tower in support of the spears. We'll rally 10 to food. We're going to build a total of 5 spears. And then I'll start rallying out to gold. You keep scouting with the Khan. Keep building villagers. Keep building spearmen. Some of you talk specifically about how to multitask. I'll cover that later. So right now, this is a pretty awesome position for tower, right? I'll show you how it works against real players more often, so in some of the later games. So then I just take my villagers that were getting wood. I had enough for my towers and spearmen. And I've got 4 on gold. Now I just start rallying to my wood line again. So something else I do here is I go ahead and pre-select 4 villagers and just add them to 4. So that when I need to age up, I don't have to worry about it too much. I can just go select them. And sometimes we're not going to see this. Oh, no, we are. The Khan is out here trying to attack. Sometimes people will pull villagers to try to destroy the outpost or kill your villager. Sometimes they'll build spears to try to fight against you. I don't know why he's building the Uvu out here. So I try to never take all of my spearmen away from my villagers. You can see here the age up came in, so I already had my villagers that I could queue up there. Take the villager that built the outpost, send him back home where he's going to be more useful. So now that you've got the outpost up, I can relax a little bit. You know, I was going through this whole build order. So essentially what we did here is we set up the base. I'm going to basically stop playing so I can explain everything. So, you know, you would normally keep building villagers and you would have this launching point because you've denied wood and gold. And he's only got 1 other wood line. Actually, maybe 2. So you could, like, make Keshiks and Mangadai, hit these wood lines, however you want to play it. So we set up our base. We got a great spawn where we had trees and a gold mine. So that was fantastic. That usually doesn't happen. So, you know, you start off, 1 villager builds the Uvu, 5 to wood. You rally to food. You get your 150 wood. You build your barracks. You leave 3 on wood to get enough for spearmen and outpost. Everybody else is going to food until you get 10 on food, and you can start sending people to gold so that your age up stays kind of relative here to your opponent. Normally it's not too hard to get the outpost up, but like people will pull villagers, try to burn the outpost. They might make units to try to kill you. If they have a Khan, they'll try to shoot your villager. And so the main thing you need to remember is the spearmen, when the villager's building this, always need to be around the villager to protect her or him. If there is a mining camp or something like that they've left at the gold mine, you can always burn that down for the bounty. That's super nice. Most people will delete theirs if they know what they're doing, so you don't get the bounty. And then once you hit that age up, you've got kind of a launching point because you've got this outpost and you've denied some resources. And so then what you want to do is, depending on what they're building, like if they go into only spearmen, well, you can go into archers and counter that. Or if they're going into archers and they're going to build a ram, you can make Keshiks, hit these wood lines. If they try to go to another gold on the map, like out here, you can hit that. You can kill any rams they make with Keshiks. Once you get the tower up, you get arrow slits, which will give it extra range, which is super useful, especially when you're doing resource denial. So, one of the key concepts here, I mean, this is the specific build, and I'm going to get more into key concepts later, but is that we're denying resources and delaying their, if they're going to go fast castle, their fast castle timing. So we're denying them from building gold units, getting upgrades, and denying a fast castle timing. So that's kind of the strict build order itself. And now what I want to move into is key concepts, and then civs that it works against, civs that you shouldn't do it against. And after we've kind of gone through all those concepts, I'll show you some real-time games against, you know, Conqueror 3 players, where it's worked, how you do it, how you follow up the tower rush, important things like that. I guess the last thing I haven't really mentioned here is you don't always have to build a tower. You know, like you could do a Dark Age rush with just spears or horsemen. And if you're going to do that, obviously you need to collect less wood, so you don't have to collect as much wood. And if you're just going to do spears, like to push them off the gold and nothing else, you could do like 2 spearmen. Or if you're going to do horsemen, you do 2 horsemen, and you'd be solid there. So we'll get into the next part of the video about how it works with each civilization, and I think that's going to be really interesting and be a good meat of the video. And I'll see y'all then. Thanks for watching. What's up, Conkers? We've gone through an intro session and a build order session for the Dark Age Rush. And now what's really important to talk about, and I'm going to do this with some slides and without gameplay footage, so it's a bit more boring but really important content, is we're going to go through all the civilizations currently available in Season 11 and talk about what civilizations are good to Dark Age Rush against, which Dark Age Rush is effective against them, which resources are you trying to hit when you do the Dark Age Rush, and what civilizations it's just bad against. So there's really some civilizations it's great against, some it's pretty mediocre, and just depends on the circumstance, and then some it's awful against. Okay, so I've kind of set up this tier list, but what I've really done behind this is break it down into some different slides of civilizations it's great against, civilizations it's okay against, civilizations it's terrible against. And we're going to go through a breakdown of each civilization, the Dark Age Rush, and then after this segment, we're going to get to the real stuff. We're going to get to some games. I think I'm going to pull 3 games that I'll go through and kind of talk about the Dark Age Rush, how I did it, why I did it, and that'll be a more exciting session. So, I've broken this into a tier list. I'll talk about these more in detail in a second, but Byzantine, French, Jeanne d'Arc, I have all of these as a Dark Age Rush is S tier against these civilizations. Now this tier list comes with a disclaimer, which is it doesn't always work, right? Like something can be good against a civilization, and that doesn't mean it works every time. Malian's good against English. That doesn't mean you win every time you play Malian against English, right? So take everything with a grain of salt. These are also my experiences, what I've experienced in gameplay. I'm not a professional player, so, you know, feel free to disagree with the tier list. Doesn't matter to me because these are my personal experiences. I have in A tier Delhi Sultanate. I think the Dark Age is effective against Delhi Sultanate. I know some people would disagree, and we'll talk about why later. In the B tier, I have Ayyubid, Knights Templar, Mongol. I just put Mongol in B tier because it's the same civilization. So I don't really go into depth about Dark Age rushing Mongol. It can work depending on their Uvu location. A lot of the time I just go Mangadai against another Mongol player though. Ottoman and Juji's Legacy, rounding out the B tier list. C tier, I have House of Lancaster, English, Holy Roman Empire, Japan, and Order of the Dragon. And then our D tier slash, if you do a Dark Age rush against these civilizations, just quit the game, is Abbasid, China, Malian, and Rus. Malian and Rus get special skulls for them being even probably on a worse tier than Abbasid in China. Dark Age Rush, if you're playing against a good Malian player, Dark Age Rush will not work. It just doesn't. And if you're playing against a Rus player, there's nothing to Dark Age Rush. So we'll talk about that more as we get into it. We're going to start with the civs that it's very effective against, because I think that'll be the more interesting segment. And I did put 4 in a slide, so their flags are a little drawn out. Hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. But the best civilization to Dark Age Rush against is by far the Byzantines. They are S-tier civilization for you to perform a Dark Age Rush against. So the Byzantine economy is very powerful, but at the beginning of the game it hasn't come online, right? Like they're still gathering stone, they're building cisterns, they're going to be behind you. Mongols a fast starter civ, Byzantines a slow starter civ. So that's already grand strategy-wise a plus for the Dark Age Rush against them. Secondly, they can build LIPPANY out of the barracks, which are quite expensive food-wise, and LIPPANY don't give a great advantage against the normal Mongol spearmen. So if they try to match your Mongol spearmen, which you can double produce with their LIPPANY, they just can't keep up with that kind of effort in Dark Age. So what do we want to focus when we attack the Byzantine? With the Byzantines, you actually want to do a tower rush. You know, you don't want to do a horseman rush. You don't want to do just a spear rush. You want to do a tower rush. And ideally, you want to put a tower on their berries. And, you know, why do you want to do that? It's because their feudal landmark, the meta, is to age up using the Grand Winery. And then they put that Grand Winery by the berries. They gather the berries, and that's how they get mercenaries. They're getting extra olive oil from the berries and the Grand Winery's influence. So that's one of the things that really gets the Byzantines rolling, right? Like sometimes Byzantine players will just get that olive oil and build mercenaries and not even build any other units. Like let's say you were going to rush them and they had gotten olive oil, maybe they just build longbows and hold off your rush, or ketches or javelin throwers. So we're going to drop a berry, or we're going to drop a tower on those berries. They're not even going to be able to get olive oil. So that has a couple factors. One, they might start going into olive groves early, which again slows down their economy. And what you really want to do here is, if you get a tower on their berries and you get your 5 spearmen in it, is you get your age up in behind it. If they're making a LIPPANY, you make archers. If they start making archers, you make keshiks, and you just keep piling on the pressure and basically steamroll Byzantine. The Mongol matchup against Byzantine's pretty good right now if you use a tower rush. The next two really are the same. So French and Jeanne d'Arc. I still am a proponent of tower rushing the gold. And it doesn't really... the goal is not really to snowball the game like against the Byzantines, even though it's possible. The real goal is just to delay the amount of gold they're getting so they can't produce as many knights, and to delay the pro scouts. So if they're going to go pro scouts, the tower will massively delay that because they're off gold, and they'll probably only be able to get 1 knight out, if even 1 knight, when you've towered their gold. The other thing you're going to see French players and Jeanne d'Arc players do is, once you tower that gold, they're going to try to move to a secondary gold. So you just keep units of that secondary gold and punish them when they move out. Easy as that. A lot of people are going to disagree with this 4th pick, because I've heard that, you know, Delhi Sultanate's really good at defending the tower rush, and I myself, having played a lot of Delhi Sultanate in the past, have defended some tower rushes pretty successfully. But the important thing to understand is, for the Delhi Sultanate, we're not tower rushing their gold or their food, we're tower rushing their wood. Because what the Delhi Sultanate likes doing is they like aging up, and then they like getting a bunch of wood. They'll throw down 2 blacksmiths. They'll, you know, make sure they have a mill, a lumber camp, and mining camp so they can get their upgrades. They'll build stable, archer range, possibly barracks. They're using a lot of wood in early feudal. And a lot of the time, you can get a tower up on their wood line without them even noticing, right? You put it at the back of the wood line, Then when you age up, you get the arrow slits, and using the scouting falcon, you can shoot over their wood line and hit their villagers and push them off it with a tower. And I'm actually going to show a Delhi Sultanate game later where this will make sense. Now, in an ideal scenario, you don't just tower their wood line. Ideally, there's like their berries are close to their wood line, they'll be out on their berries, you tower, and you kind of block both. Or their gold will be near the wood line and you tower and you block both. That's ideal. The one thing people are going to say which Delhi can do is they have the scholar, so they can pull villagers and pull the scholar to burn your tower. I mean, that's possible. Just don't be greedy with your tower against them. You should have 5 spearmen to protect your tower, so you should still be able to get some villager kills or hit the scholar really hard. And the other thing is if they're way out there trying to burn your tower and you haven't been greedy with your tower, you can always cancel it, right? And then they're using a lot of idle time running back and forth as you cancel the tower and start rebuilding it. So these are civilizations that I think you should rush. One of the base strategies of why you should rush each of these, which I know I've talked through at length, but Byzantine's going to beat you late game. French and Jeanne d'Arc, if they get the knight numbers, they'll beat you. And Delhi Sultanate, once they get rolling again, they'll just outproduce you and beat you. So, important to rush all these civs. These next 3 civs are okay to rush. I don't advise rushing them necessarily, but they're okay to rush in certain situations. And I do not advise spear rushing any of these civilizations. Actually, all of these civilizations, I think if you Dark Age rush them, it should be double production of horsemen and Dark Age to rush these civilizations. So the Ayyubid one I can talk about quickly is you really lose nothing by Dark Age rushing with double horse against Ayyubid in my mind, because you can attack their gold early, which they're a fast castle civ, so you want to delay the amount of gold they're getting, right? So it just makes sense. They'll either have to build a tower early, which puts them back, or you can pop them off the gold mine for a bit. The other thing is, if they age up with the military wing and they have desert raiders, you're going to want those 2 horsemen to defend. Like, you won't want to fight a feudal desert raider head on with 2 Dark Age horsemen, but you can roam the Dark Age horseman around his base and make sure he stays in his base. And then when you age up, you upgrade your horsemen, you keep double producing horsemen with archers, and you can beat the desert raiders that he makes. That's why you do that. For Knights Templar, the Dark Age rush is really tricky. I again think spearmen are probably a really bad thing to go with against Knights Templar, because they can match your spearmen, they can age up faster than you. It just doesn't work. I've tried it. What the 2 Dark Age horsemen, the double production of horsemen, are good though against Knights Templar is most Knights Templar players will age up a fair amount before you, and instead of immediately going into units, I've played a lot of Knights Templar, I do this too, they just research the Pilgrim text. Okay, and if you go straight feudal into Mangudai Keshik, you're not going to stop the first 2 pilgrims. They're going to beat you to the sacred sites. If they just age up too fast and they get the text too fast, and you're not going to have the units out to kill their pilgrims. And so they might get 260 gold from those first 2 pilgrims, which is huge. And it will allow them to start making their French knights or Antioch sergeants. So I like opening with 2 horsemen. You know, you can go pester their gold if they're out on gold. If there's anything out in the open that you can attack, I don't know, maybe they're going 2 town center, they're on stone, you can bother them there. But the main thing is you hit any open resources, and when they get that pilgrim out, you kill it. Like, you just run the horsemen back and forth in front of their base, you see the pilgrims spawn out of the town center, you take them out before he ever gets to the sacred site, then you get your age up in, then you go into whatever unit composition you need at that time. So that, I think, is, you know, pretty decent. Excuse me. So, Juji's legacy, or is it Juji's legacy? I always get that wrong. I really don't love Dark Age rushing them, but I do it more often with the double horse rush, double production of horse now, and it's because Juji legacy players will be very greedy sometimes with their meditation garden drop, and you can punish that pretty harshly with horsemen. Like, they're, scouting around the map, they're finding these locations that have a huge amount of resources that they're going to get from the med garden, and they drop it and it's out in the open, and then boom, 2 Mongol horsemen show up and raid them and drive them crazy. So that can be pretty useful. They're going to go into pro scouts early, so one of the things with this is whatever unit you lead off with, people will normally build the counter. So if you lead off with horsemen, they're almost definitely going to make spears, and then you can go into archers or Mangudai and kill their spears. So that kind of puts you ahead of that game as well. And if there's anything open that they're on, like gold or stone, you can still hit that too. So I think that's pretty good. These 3 civilizations also fall in these civs are okay to rush. So I don't feel great about rushing these civs. It's just okay. And again, it just depends on the scenarios. There's so many in-game scenarios where it could be worse than okay, but there's some instances where it works out, so I'll talk through them. One is against the Ottomans. You're going to have to go into Dark Age spears anyways. It really doesn't matter. I guess you could hypothetically just age up and, do your normal thing, but the Ottomans are going to have spears in Dark Age, so it just depends how exposed your gold is, whether you can live with that or not. If your gold's protected by the town center, you can probably age up. If it's not, or if your uvu is not protected, you probably need to build spears to protect the uvu. And you can always push back the Ottoman spears, push them off their gold, hit their mining camp, their stone if they're trying to collect stone for military schools for feudal. So I wouldn't even say it's a rush against Ottoman. You always have Dark Age fights against Ottoman spears versus spears. So you need to make spears. Don't go horse and Dark Age against them because they'll have spears. That's not very helpful. So House of Lancaster and English are the same actually here. With you don't need to Dark Age horsemen rush these civilizations. But if you do, make 2 horsemen and go raid their stone. Go raid their gold and stone. So for instance, most English players are going to go to town center. And they can't make spears in Dark Age. Both of these civilizations have the villager short bow, but horsemen do have some protection against that with their extra range defense. So, go do some raiding against English stone miners. Go do some raiding against House of Lancaster stone miners. They're almost always gathering stone for manors and town centers. They'll almost always both be on gold as well, just for the age ups. A lot of the time, the House of Lancaster players are going to be greedy. They'll try to put the Lancaster castle out kind of far. Sometimes you can punish that with the horsemen. So, both of those are solid, and, a lot of the time what you'll see is, you go double horsemen, you get in a little idle time on the enemy. You're rarely going to get a villager kill. Sometimes that could happen, but most of the time it's just you doing a little fake charge in and out, poking the villagers occasionally, making them constantly react to your horsemen being there and trying to delay their second town center or age up. And if you get lucky and you delay them long enough, you might be able to follow it up with 2 Keshiks or some Mangudai and actually deny something pretty serious. So these 3 civs I don't advise rushing against. I think they're all very risky civs to rush against. And what's funny is, if you had asked me a year ago if I would have Dark Age rushed these civilizations, I would have tower rushed every single one of them. But the meta changes. People work with civs like Holy Roman Empire, Japan, Order of the Dragon. They find out how to defend. Malian's a prime example of that later. And these civs can defend against the Dark Age Tower Rush pretty darn well. So one is HRE can just outproduce you. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you can double produce spears. They can outproduce you because their economy is better than yours. So I don't Dark Age rush them. It's a waste of time. I used to always tower rush Holy Roman Empire players, but they also have the prelate. So if they need to defend and try to burn the tower, they can pull the prelate. It's just they're gonna beat your Dark Age rush. You could maybe catch like a Holy Roman Empire off guard or something. You could catch a player off guard and the tower rush could work, but it's unlikely. Japan, again, they have men in arms, specifically samurai in Dark Age, and with the changes, with their barracks being much cheaper, their transition into Dark Age rush is really fast. It's a lot faster than yours. So like they immediately throw down a barracks to start the game and build a samurai, and he's at your Uvu about the time your Uvu's done. So it can sometimes, with the right timing, if Japan gets it right, it can sometimes be hard to even get your barracks placed around your Uvu. So there's a couple. Japan's really tricky right now for Mongols. If your gold and food are protected, you might just want to age up. Unless you're super concerned about building your Uvu, you can try to get a barracks out there. And if you're just defending with spearmen around your base, you can defend successfully. Because you're going to spawn out more guys quicker at your base. You're going to have more spearmen in your base than they have units in your base. But if you try to flip it and push to their base, you're going to have the opposite problem. They're going to be able to make enough units that your spear rush or tower rush is not going to work. So it's a bit tricky. Depending on your golden Uvu placement, it's possible you could immediately just age up. But if you want to defend your Uvu, you can make Dark Age Spearmen. Order of the Dragon, I hate doing Dark Age rushes against. Their Spearmen are super strong. You can technically win that Dark Age battle against their Spearmen, so I don't want to say don't do it. You can do it and win, but they could also reverse it on you. Excuse me, pretty easily. Alright, so these civs I have in a special category for themselves, which is if you rush these civilizations in Dark Age, just go ahead and surrender. That's how I feel about it. People are going to disagree, yada yada. You've probably had various amounts of success Dark Age rushing these civilizations sometime against some players. This is just how I feel about it in my experience and where the meta is right now. Okay, Rus, there's nothing for you to Dark Age rush. They have food in their base. They don't need gold. What are you going to Dark Age rush? So, pointless to Dark Age rush them. Just age up, try to deny pro scouts as best you can. There's a couple ways you deal with the Rus, but we're just talking about Dark Age rush specifically right now. Malians are going to destroy you. So, Malians is a great example of, if you ask me a year ago, would I Dark Age rush Malians? I would have built 10 spears in Dark Age, destroyed all of their houses and pit mine, surrounded their base, and GG. It was that easy. Mongols were awesome against Malian. Now it's gone the other way, where people have realized Donzos are really strong. They have extra melee armor. They have spear throw. Normally, someone will make 2 to 4 houses around their pit mine, go into a barracks, destroy all of your spears with their Donzos. Then they'll age up before you and proceed to kill you. If they don't kill you in feudal, then they'll go to Castle Age and kill you. So, if you do a Spearman Dark Age rush against the Malians, and you're playing against a good Malian player, they're going to beat you. China. This is probably a controversial pick, because there's probably people who have Dark Age rush China before and been successful. But I can tell you, if you're a good Chinese player, and I've played China, and I'm not a good Chinese player, and I still kick the crap out of Mongol players who have Dark Age rushed me. And the reason is their economy is just that much better than yours, man. It's just that much better. So all they need to do is, you know, chop some wood, get a house down instead of a village, throw up a barracks, and they will spit out spearmen faster than you can double produce them. Their economy is just that strong with the supervision on the mill. Now, if they open up, I guess the one caveat to this is if they do the traditional Chinese build with an imperial official, you cannot beat them in Dark Age with spears. If you see them skip their imperial official because they want to build their first one out of the Imperial Academy, you can probably Dark Age rush / Tower rush and it'll work. Abbasid. I paused when I said this because I actually Dark Age rushed an Abbasid player the other day and it worked, so I'm contradicting myself. The only reason it worked is because he didn't go military school. And I think it's because Abbasid players are out of practice, because Abbasid players have been gone for the last 2 seasons after the 2TC meta crashed. So, if you're an Abbasid player and you know what you're doing, and you get Dark Age rushed, even Tower rushed, you just go military school, you build a ram, you kill the outposts, all of the spearmen in it with your 2 spearmen, 2 archers, and then you counter push and you kill the Mongol player. So, again, you don't rush Abbasid. It doesn't work. Okay? At a minimum, I would say never Dark Age rush them. But if for some reason you do, you could maybe just double produce 2 spearmen to attack like stone and gold and then get out of there. Because if you just make 2 spearmen and then they go military school, maybe that's fine. They're probably still going to counter push your Uvu and kill your Uvu. But maybe you force them into a military school and you consider that a win. So that's my synopsis of all the civilizations who a Dark Age rush is really effective against. We can go back to our tier list here. Who it's kind of okay against, who it's risky against, and who you just lose the game if you do it against them. Specifically Malian and Rus. I mean, Malian and Rus are just a terrible matchup for Mongol in general, and if you Dark Age rush those guys, I'm telling you, just go ahead and surrender. So that's just how I feel. That's my personal tier list on how effective the Mongol Dark Age rush is against different civilizations. Leave your comments below if you have any discrepancies. I'm sure you do. Again, this is my personal experience. So, you know, if you've been killing it, if you've been Dark Age rushing Abbasid 10 out of 10 games and winning with it, I'm all ears on hearing it. Just let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll need to revise the tier list. But we're going to get to the games after this. If you enjoyed the tier list, thanks so much for watching, and drop a like on the video. What's up, Conquerors? I've got game 1 in the Dark Age Rush guide video to show you here. This is a game on HILL&DALE against Order of the Dragon, which actually has as a civilization, which I would maybe not tower rush normally. Like if they go into their own Dark Age Gilded Spears, they can push you off pretty effectively if they stay on the defensive. But I'm going to show you here on a map where it works pretty well. And on HILL&DALE especially, this is the map. The resources are kind of condensed on your hill, and then you have to expand out. So we'll get started here. One of the most important things you want to do, and I'm going to keep Fog of War, and I talked about this in the build orders, get your base set up. I have a great spawn here with deer and trees. I put the gird of the gold mine. And this has me in a really good position early, just with my resource spawn. So I send the Khan across the map immediately because you have to scout your opponent's resources before you commit to anything like a tower. If you go across the map blind, you're going to be in a really bad spot. And so I get in here and I drop a Scouting Falcon, and it's pretty evident to me that this is a fantastic spot for a tower rush. And that's because anytime you see gold near woodline, that's a fantastic spot for a tower rush. I would go for that. Or if you're playing a civ like Byzantines and their berries are on the side, you can tower the berries. But for a civ like Order of the Dragon, HRE, French, any civ that likes a lot of gold, dropping a tower to deny the gold and the wood is pretty key, actually. So I've already scouted this gold, and I know I'm going to go for my tower. Then I'm just seeing if he's on deer or anything like that. I'm actually surprised he didn't go to his deer early. So at home, I've gotten all the wood I need for barracks. Then I'm going to have 3 on wood, so they'll gather enough wood for the tower. And since I spawned close to deer, you want to go ahead and get the deer that are close. That'll increase your food income. Sometimes you have to manually drop off from deer early on. So I'm going to make a total of 5 spears because I'm going to want to be able to garrison 5 spears in my tower. So I'll double produce spears twice, and I'll make, well, the specific order is you double produce spears the first time, then you make 1 spear, then you double produce again. That's just how the resources shake out with the stone you have or don't have, okay? So again, I'm scouting with the Khan. I did a big loop here, picked up the sheep, and then I'm going to do a loop on the other side because I've already scouted the resources. I'm not worried about having a Khan up here. Most players will just delete their mining camp. Sometimes HRE or Order of the Dragon don't do it because they have E repairs. So I'm just being annoying here, but the one thing you want to make sure to not have happen at all cost is you do not want to lose spearmen to the town center. So don't overstay your welcome. You know, torch what buildings you can outside TC range, but don't overcommit and get shot. So normally you'll see people E-repairs this or come out and repair, but he doesn't here. He allows me to get the bounty. He might have just decided, hey, it's lost, essentially. And once you get this tower up, you have a good position. So one thing I was scouting, and I could have come over here if I was smarter with my 5 spearmen earlier to deny this stone. The one thing you have to be careful of is if I did pull all of my spearmen to deny this stone, he could pull these villagers and burn the outpost. So you could technically try to pivot and deny this, but you know, you generally need to keep your spearmen around your tower because better players will pull their villagers and delete your tower pretty quickly. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I can see he's going for 2 town center here. You know, his goal is blocked off, so if you are tower rushing someone, they have 2 options, which is they just go ahead and go straight into 1 TC units and try to contest your tower, or they go 2 town center, or you could try to sneak out for gold. So that's kind of 3 options you have to try to counter. I'm just being annoying with the Khan here, shooting him. I realized I wasn't going to be able to harass this, so I stationed my spearmen in the tower. And you can see the tower cannot see these villagers. But what you can use is, 1, you can position the Khan here so you can see past the tree line and shoot the villagers. Or you can use your scouting falcon when it's done with cooldown, place it, and you can shoot over the trees. So you'll see here I just kind of moved the Khan closer. He sees that. He goes to straggler trees. So he's good there. You can see he's about ready for his 2nd town center. So there's a couple ways to follow up a tower rush like this. Generally, the rule of thumb is you only ever do 1 tower. In this example, I'm actually going to do 2 towers. But normally you only ever do 1 tower because it's a big investment to do 2 towers. And you can follow up this spear rush with a tri-composition strategy, which is Spearman, Archer, Keshik. Or you can follow it up if you build Deer Stones with Mangadai Keshik, the all-horsemen. Both are pretty viable here. You know, if you went all horsemen, you could still run all around the base and harass with Keshik Mangadai. That would be pretty effective. Since I know he's going 2 town center, I actually go tri-composition here just because I want to be able to get rams later. So you kind of, you get this position with the tower. A lot of the time you can't even keep this long term. It's more of a delaying tactic to get them off gold and they'll burn the tower down after. But if you can keep it, you can kind of build off it with the push, right? And on this map specifically, I always think this map is easy to wall off and not as full cav friendly, so I go silver tree, and we're gonna do a little eco behind aggression. I'm gonna be aggressive, but I'm gonna build up my economy behind it, right? And since I know he's going to town center, I feel pretty good about having the trade. That'll help me offset some of the issues with them having 2 town centers. Now, normally you just keep this 1 tower. A lot of the time it's too dangerous to get a 2nd tower up. They have units already, or they'll pull villagers and destroy it. But he doesn't have any units yet, and I wasn't even sure if he saw this. I'm on my account, so I just see his Fog of War, but I knew he would be using this tree line, and he had deer here, and so breaking the rule a bit, I decided to pull the villager and build a 2nd tower. And yeah, honestly, the reason I did that is because I knew if I got this 2nd tower going, he would be completely shut down from all resources other than the back of this wood line, and he'd have to move out on the map. That was my thinking. He gets up a nice wall here. And you can see now I'm building more spearmen to garrison the 2nd tower. You always want 5 spearmen in a tower to garrison it. And then I'm going into Keshiks. And you'll see I decided to make a switch because at some point I scout he's building spearmen. And I decided to switch into a range and start mass producing archers to deal with the spearmen. So, Orange is actually doing a pretty good job here against this rush. I'm trying to burn the palisade over here. The palisade was nice just so I couldn't wrap around, right? So he can repair. I end up getting a lucky kill with the tower because it's got arrow slits and can reach. So he just sets up 2nd palisade, and he can keep defending this palisade with his archers, right? And what you want to do every once in a while, see, he's got no back wood line. So if they have a back wood line and you have the towers at front, you can try to harass the back. Since he's got only forward wood lines, which happens on Hill&Dale a lot, just keep using the scouting falcon. You can shoot over the trees and get some villager kills. So I've already gotten 2 villager kills, which is really nice. And you can see he's actually building up quite a solid mass of Order of the Dragon units. You always have to double count those. So he's really got 12 spearmen. And once he gets a good mass, he can burn these towers down, which is what he's going to try to do. Does a good job holding off my Keshiks with the spearmen. So, you know, what he needs to do is build up an army, kill the towers. Other thing he could do, which he hasn't yet, is move out to other resources on the map, like here, golden boar and deer. But he hasn't done that quite yet. So he was building up specifically spearman archer because he has a lot of food and wood. And because of that, I decided to go mass archers to try to counter that with some Keshik. And we just kind of see the siege, right? There's 2 towers, both have 5 spearmen, so they can shoot both wood lines. And that's a real pain for him right now. And he has no gold access other than out here, which he hasn't moved to, I don't think. So you can see he goes on the tower. She actually has enough men to take this tower down right now. Because essentially he's got 14 spearmen and 12 archers, because these gilded archers are very powerful. So I don't actually quite have the men to take this, but we'll see how this battle plays out. So I'm trying to focus down the spears with my archers so that my Keshiks can go in. He's focusing down my archers with the spears. And of course I have extra attack from my tower with my garrison spearmen, which is important to remember. He actually overdives here a little bit because he gets in the range of the 2nd tower, which can rain down on him. And I have, you know, constant flood of units crossing the map, so I continually attack. Got a good charge there. Sometimes you can cause the spearman to brace, and then after that you get the charge in. And you can see here, that was a really good fight for me. Even if I lost some units. He did kill the tower, though, so that's important. But if you look at destroyed value, I've got a much bigger army at the point, more destroyed value. But we do have the same eco, and those Order of the Dragon villagers are very strong. So I did lose my tower. But again, you don't really expect the towers to last forever, right? That's not what you expect. You want the towers to kind of delay your enemy and put them on the back foot, which I have succeeded in. So again, I'm mass producing archers. And at this point, I think you can take two strategies when you're doing this type of rush. You can go fast castle behind your attack. You probably wouldn't have even built as many units as I had, right? You would have just done the Dark Age rush, traded, gone fast castle. Or, since I already have a lot of units and I know he's on 2 town center, you can decide to go all in with a ram push. And at a minimum with this kind of push, you want to bring down the 2nd town center. So even if, you know, you don't win the game, you want to bring down the 2nd TC, kill some villagers, get out of there. Since he's locked in his base, you can go out on the map and get resources like boar and deer. That's important. You can trade. So use the map resources while you can, while he's locked up in his base. Attack the flanks with cavalry. As you can see here, it's more just to pull this army back so that he can't push forward, right? We're just trying to keep his army busy. And, you know, now I'm getting siege engineering. So he's still building more army, which is smart. But since he's building spears and archers, you know, my archers kill his entire army, right? My archers counter spears and archers. They don't really counter archers, but they offset. So I was trying to raid down here with Keshik and just saw he was setting up some palisade to get gold. Probably to go fast castle. You can kind of see his resource posturing. So, since I can't get in with Keshiks, what I actually do is just send 2 archers down here to shoot any villagers on the gold mine. So, they can't get quite close enough because of the tower, but they can be pretty annoying. And I always overbuild rams when you go in. I know this is expanding past the Dark Age Rush. I'm just showing you how you kind of lead the game with the Dark Age Rush and then how you follow it up. You always want 3 rams if you're going in on a town center. A lot of the time I build extra, so I go 4 here. 1 ram's really easy for the defender to kill. 2 rams, they can normally kill 1 ram, and then there's only 1 ram left to ram, and it takes forever. So you need 3. I went really safe here with 4. And now in your engagement, you want the archers to kill spears and villagers, and the Keshiks to clean up the rest. So you'll see here, you can micro the rams back and forth, but because I have 4 rams, I just don't have to do that as much. I can let the rams, and see, he already popped 2 rams and he repairs, and I have 2 rams left. So that's why it was really, really useful for me to have more than just the 1 or 2 rams, because the assault would have not worked in that situation. So he does a really good job here of microing some repair, which I wasn't. I pulled the, one thing you can do, so, and I probably should have stayed with it this game, is you can keep the Keshiks here and secure the takedown on the town center, or, where I knew he had a bunch of villagers, you run your Keshiks through past his army after the fight, and you just try to kill and idle as many villagers as possible, which is what I did here. So, I went for it back here. It idles probably 30 villagers, which is probably even more worthwhile than killing some villagers here. So he does get E-repairs again. Constantly streaming units from my base, just as many units as I can. I'm actually don't have enough production. I'm floating resources. He moves 50 villagers outside this palisade to be more secure. And gonna get the 2nd TC down here. So we don't have to watch the rest of this game. We'll speed through it. But that's essentially how, just one of the ways that you can follow up your early Dark Age rush. Normally you follow your Dark Age rush up with aggression. So basically I just go back here, regroup, pick castle, and I'm going to push again. So that's kind of the first example of a game where you use the Dark Age Tower Rush to get yourself a good position, deny enemy resources. In that specific game, I traded behind it, so I ecoed behind my aggression. I got a lot of traders up that game. You get some tower in your trade, traders go even faster and are secure. And that's a way to follow up your Dark Age Tower Rush with some feudal aggression to win the game. So if you have any questions about that, just let me know in the comments, and we'll get to game 2 here. What's up, Conquerors? Game 2 here that we're going to analyze. Also a recent game in one of my videos, so I know I'm using some recent examples here. It's a little harder, I actually found, to find some of the older games on my YouTube channel, just because it really only searches through titles, not chapters. So we're going to look at a game, again, a closed-off map, an ALTAI. And a lot of the times, the tower rushes can be pretty good on the closed-off maps because your resources are kind of all in one grouping. And I'm going to play it at 1.5 speed here, so you're just going to see, this is going to be from my point of view, how I'm looking at things while I play and set up the tower rush with some narration from me. So, you know, I send the con out, I get the TC set up, again, a good spawn by wood and gold, so the gur can go off, capture sheep, things like that, or be by the deer. And then, you know, I get the uvu set up quite early. And again, I want to send the con out pretty immediately, just so I can scout and see where his resources are. And I'm playing against Ayyubid here, which is, again, kind of it's an okay to risky civ for you to tower rush. Because sometimes if they go Desert Raider, they can get that out before you're ready. And that can be a bit dangerous. His gold's in the back, actually. So, you know, you kind of take a look at this, and I have to say, well, I can't tower rush the back just because it's so hard to reinforce your units back there. So, you know, you can either tower rush food, wood, or gold. And ideally with Ayyubid, you tower rush the gold because you want to delay their fast castle and gold units. But just wasn't able to do that here. Like, not a great situation. I actually have deer near me, so I'm able to deploy the gur and get the villagers over there, so I have a bit more food income. I messed up my macro here, so I wasn't quite ready to build a tower. But what I decided to do, kind of executive decision, was towers wood, because he has 2 wood lines here. And a lot of the time, interestingly enough, if you tower somebody's wood, if they have front wood lines, it can almost be kind of a death sentence. Because, like, every civ needs wood. They need wood for houses, production buildings, you know, as simple as a lumber camp, a mill for their upgrades. I mean, you need wood for literally everything for your units. So that's what I went with. That's what his front resources were. So sometimes you need to scout and kind of decide, you know, hey, I want to hit the gold, but the gold's not really in a raidable or a towerable position. Where can I put a tower and apply pressure? The other thing you could do is you could just, in this situation, if you wanted to, you could put down a barracks and just make 2 spears and run them back to the gold, or you could put down a stable and make 2 Dark Age horsemen and just run around with the golden berries and harass. So you don't have to do a tower in this situation. There's a lot of options. If you're playing a different civ than Mongol, like, you can still do this. You can, you know, as Japan, make 1 samurai. As Order of the Dragon, you can make 1 spearman, and you can go around the back and harass the golden berries. So all that's doable. Since we're on ALTAI, and I'm not going to go Mangadai because it's the closed off map, I go Silver Tree, so I'm going to trade behind this aggression again. Eco behind your aggression. So he actually got a tower up on the gold, which was smart. Just got a con back there to harass and be a little bit annoying, but you can see, you know, his plan's obviously fast castle. He's got a lot of men on gold. And so that's kind of the timing I'm going to be working against here. he did see the tower. So the dangerous thing about Abbasid Ayyubid is they don't need a blacksmith to go into their first ram. So you have to, if you're gonna tower rush Abbasid or Ayyubid, you're gonna have to be really quick with this timing, and you're gonna have to get out your own archers and possibly Keswick horsemen, because one, they can make archers, which will build the rams. So it's a little different with Abbasid and Ayyubid, because Abbasid, if you go military wing and straight into a ram, you need archers to kill their 2 spearmen and 2 archers, and that's tough. For Ayyubid, they could have made a desert raider, which archer or horseman can counter. But right now, he's just going into some archers, so I actually shoot him a bit. I know I need more time before he sends in that ram, so I figure I'll try to harass with the Khan and pull his archers away, but he's not really buying the bait here, because he's, you know, Mr. W is a good player. So he does a little bit here to push me off, but I know what I need to get up is my double production of archers, and if I can get my archers cranking, I can try to use spearmen to kill the ram, and then the archers to kill the archers. So that's kind of the game plan here. And the other thing that the tower does, gives you great vision over the enemy. Pausing here again for a second. He would like to go fast castle, but instead of doing that, he's now built a production building, a ram, and several units, which is several hundred resources of investment, where he could possibly already be on his way to castle. So again, the tower's already completed our job here. It's delayed him from aging up. And again, if you say he could just ignore this tower, the reason he can't is because I could just wrap around the other side of the wood line with my archers. And so he would be completely off wood. So I'm going to use the spearmen here to try to attack the ram. Use the archers to try to take out the units, and he realizes I've probably got a little too much here for him to be able to take. So he is going pretty hard. The ram does a lot of damage to these early outposts from Mongol. I pull a villager, I think, to come up here and repair it. And, you know, start getting some Keswiks, because I know that's going to be super helpful. And I realize, you know, now he's really going into units. He's not screwing around anymore. He's realized, like, yeah, this is a pretty big push. I need some units, and now I'm kind of doing what I talked about, which is he can't go on his wood line at all because I've pushed him off. So I do discover that there's another wood line up top. So I send my units up here to contest a bit, but I didn't feel like I quite had enough to push in there yet. So this is another situation. Again, I say never do double towers, but I actually do double tower here. Specifically just because I know he has this one wood line and nothing else, and that he wasn't going to expect a second tower back there. So he starts going in horsemen, just good, you know, good counter. I have a lot of archers. And again, right now we're just kind of we did the Dark Age rush, and we're doing a feudal push behind it. So you're just kind of seeing how this works, how you capitalize on your Dark Age rush. Sometimes if you want to just do the Dark Age rush and then go fast castle, that's fine. You can do that. You know, you kind of have the Dark Age rush to put them on the back foot, and then you just age up. But I prefer doing the feudal push behind it. I think it's much more effective. So just, you know, getting more and more units out. I saw he was building some horsemen, so I decided, you know, probably a good idea to keep getting my spear numbers up. I don't really want to dive this too hard just because he has a tower. And again, the archers are there to kill spears and other archers. So that's their job. That's why you see me just ignoring the archers getting hit a bit and having them target down the spears. I want to keep that villager around, so I actually put down an ubu so he could chop near the front. So my plan right now is he's got all his unit producers on the south side, so I kind of figured, hey, do a little burning torch damage, maybe bring down a unit producer or two. And that's really only so effective. Abbasid and Ayyubid have extra fire armor on their unit producers. But I am able to get one there. And again, I'm doing something similar to what I did the last game, which was I've realized he's kind of backed up in his base, and I've decided to go for rams. The other thing I did here was then I split the army. So I decided I was going to attack south with infantry, try to raid up top with Keshiks, and I realized he has too many towers, so then I actually switched the approach. Where you want to distract your enemy and pull their attention somewhere and then attack the other side. So I decided to go to the bottom and attack with the Keshiks where he thinks my army probably is. And then I think I'm going to move in the top here. Maybe it doesn't happen quite yet, but I'll move in the top after I get the rams, possibly. So I'm just keeping his army distracted at the bottom. I don't want his army at the top where I'm actually really prepping my attack. It's kind of like a phony attack, right? Like, I'm not really trying to gain anything at the bottom with my Keshiks. I'm just trying to keep him distracted while I'm building up a huge army and rams at the top. Again, you see I go 4 rams. I might go even more here just with how many guys I have on the wood. I overbuild rams a bit. You really don't need that many rams. 3 is really the perfect number of rams, but I always just kind of go hard on them. So again, I'm going to pull his army one last time. So if you're playing in his position right now, he's getting an attack symbol at that barracks, and he's pulling his troops, and then boom, I'm on the wood line. And that's how you want to really, that's how I do attacks. So I just killed 1 billion villagers up there, and that was the game. Now, something important and why we're going to watch the rest of this game, because it gets quite close actually, is Mr. W just hit Castle Age. And Ayyubid Castle Age timing is one of the strongest in the game. And so if you're doing this feudal all in, how you try to survive a castle timing push, because it's really quite difficult. So he does hit castle, and I didn't think he was going to be able to build as many troops as he did, but I go ahead and go for the landmarks, because I'm thinking like, all right, he's castle, I need to finish this now, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do. So we're gonna have a big fight with the armies at the base. You can see he's starting to make gulams, which I don't have a good counter to gulams. I do have Keshiks, which can kill them from charging in and out, but gulams are pretty strong at this point. And now he's making camel lancers, which I have to have spears to fight. So if I was a better player, I'd be throwing down. You could either be going up to castle behind this, or you could be. What you should do is throw down more production. Like when I see the camel lancers, I should throw down like 2 more barracks and just start spamming spears. And that'll be my win condition here. So again, I'm taking out the army. A lot of the time in these situations, people are tempted to kill the villagers and ignore the army. You need to kill the army a lot of the time, unless you're like planning on sacrificing your units because you're doing a raid. In these big battles, you need to focus on killing the army. You can always kill the villagers afterwards. So I actually throw down more stables, which might have been a mistake here, because he's building camel lancers. But I'm thinking he's just going to spam more gulams, so that was kind of what I was doing there. But I need, you can see the camel lancers and the gulam numbers rising quickly, and my army's really dwindled. And I'm in trouble here now, right? So now, knowing that my archers are going to die, I just start killing villagers. Because I know this is it, right? So I just start killing as many villagers as I can. Hoping the rams are going to bring down the House of Wisdom. So what he does, which is really smart here, if you're ever playing against this kind of feudal all-in, he leaves some units to clean up the archers and just takes the rest of the gulams and probably YOLOs them to my base, right? He's like, all right, I got to get in this guy's economy to try to push back. That's exactly what he does. I have a lot of villagers at home. I start throwing up towers, which actually is not going to do a whole lot for you in this situation. But just to try to keep some of the villagers alive. And again, the gulams you can kind of charge in and out with the Keshiks. The one thing you want to do if you're playing in my position against this type of counter push is take the villagers you cannot garrison out of your base and send them on the flanks for resources. And now we're about to see kind of the deadly counter push. So like the feudal on worked, I killed a lot of villagers, but now he's actually got a chance to end the game with a castle age timing. Because he's got camel lancers and ghulams in here. Castle age. I cannot beat that, right? This is very difficult for me to fight. So the micro you're going to see here is I really want to get my spearmen on the camel lancers and I want to get my Keshik on the ghulams, and he wants to do the opposite. So he's trying to get his Keshik, or he's trying to get his camel lancers on my Keshiks. He's trying to get his ghulams on my spears. That's kind of the game we're playing right here. And I've just got the town center. It's kind of worthless against these units, right? Against armored units like this. So you're seeing a lot of microing back and forth, and then I kind of commit to a fight here, trying to reinforce, play defenders advantage, right? Reinforcing. I actually pulled the villagers out of the town center. Not sure that was actually the best idea. So the reason in the moment why I pulled the villagers out of the town center, and you can say this is stupid or not stupid, what I really needed at that point, because I needed to kill his army, was I needed a meat shield. So I needed his army to focus my villagers while the Keshiks could kill the rest of the army. So that's why I pulled the villagers out. I was trying to get the villagers to take the damage so the Keshiks could hit. So here you can see I am getting some units out, though. He's caused considerable idle time, and you know, I really haven't even been able to produce villagers out of my town center. But basically was able to clean up the rest of his men in my base and stabilize from that insane push that he had. So he's trying to run out and raid with ghulams, and I'm just going to chase him down with Keshiks. And that's GG. So that's another tower rush game. And how it can play out. And that one, why I showed it, was a bit different, because I didn't just win with a feudal all-in push. Like, technically I did win because by attacking in feudal, but he had a really strong castle age timing in return there that about ended me. And you have to get good at defending against those castle age timings, or you'll lose to them repeatedly. So here, I sent my units out onto the flanks, or my villagers out onto the flanks to gather resources because I didn't have enough garrison space in my city. Then I just continually rallied troops into my base, tried to micro. Defender's advantage, you get more troops in your base faster than they can reinforce. Now, I think what would have been super deadly if I was in his position and playing was, like, you take 2 camel lancers away from that middle push and you split one out to the left side and one out to the right side, and I might have had to GG. So I actually don't have a third game planned yet. I'm going to see if I can find a third game for a Byzantine Tower Rush and show it. And if you have any questions about this game, just leave them in the comments. Happy to answer any. And thanks for watching as always. What's up, Conquerors? We're going to watch a third and final game here before we get to the conclusion of the Dark Age Rush video. I'm going to set the speed to 1.5 here. This is actually a very old game. I say very old, really only 6-month-old game from my YouTube channel. So if you've already seen this game, hate to bore you with it, but I think it's a really good example of the Tower Rush, how to use it, and it's done against Byzantine, which I think right now in the meta, it's really good to Dark Age Rush, especially Tower Rush the Byzantine. And I want to say this is before, there was a time where people were saying it was a bad idea and I was doing it anyways and it was working. Like all the pros said, you know, Akratoy defense, you can't Tower Rush Byzantine, but you always could. It was always viable, at least in my mind. At the playing level that I'm at. So you're going to see here Very typical tower rush build order. So I'm going to have 3 guys on wood. I'm going to have the rest of my villagers collecting food. There's only not a third on wood right now because I'm making a barracks. And this is on LIPPANY, so you know there's going to be a ton of berries out on LIPPANY the Byzantines want to gather. I get really lucky in this game, and you can see I actually have the opponent's berries on the front of their base, so that's a rough spawn for him. And then a lot of the rest of his food is all focused on one part of the, to the left of his base, I guess to my left, to his right, where he's got double deer and berries. So there's a lot of potential for this, where you could shut an opponent down. And I think in this game, it actually looks like I decided I was only going to do a spear rush starting out, where I thought I'd just do a spear rush, no tower. And I'll be 100% with you guys. I don't remember if I put a tower or not. I think I do put a tower, but this rush works either way. The main goal is to get the enemy off their berries, because that is going to delay how fast they get mercenaries. And if they go Grand Winery and they put it on the front berries, it makes the Grand Winery landmark like completely useless. They can't use it at all. This is an era where I always went Silver Tree still, never did Deerstone. So you actually see I get to attack him here on his gold mine just because his gold's forward, and I get to sit here and burn it. So that's pretty solid. And he does move out to berries, and this is, you know, me doing a bad job. I don't have a tower. If I had a tower up here right now, he couldn't gather any of these berries at all. And if he had a choice between putting the tower on berries and woodline or berries and gold here, I'm going berries woodline, because you can always deny the gold with archers or something, right? So I'd be placing a tower on berries woodline here. But you kind of see how it works pretty well with just spearmen anyways. Like, he does pop the Akrotoi, but the Akrotoi defenses does have a cooldown, right? You can't just, your villagers don't have spears forever. And you can harass them off the berries as long as they're going to be able to get the first berry because the town center range. But after that, he's in a hard time. So the thing is, you get, the Byzantine economy is obviously better than yours. This is even before the Byzantine cisterns were nerfed, so they were pretty solid at this point. Not sure about their farms, the olive groves, because those got a nerf as well, but this might have been before it. So you can see he pops out archers to push me off so he can get on the berries, but I've got a stable to follow it up. And if you put out the tower like you were supposed to, an archer would do nothing here, right? You'd have 5 spears and the tower, which would still deny berries and wood. But here, I didn't build a tower yet. I'm just going triple comp. I see he's getting a wall up, so I actually put a unit just specifically in the way so that he can't get a wall up. Then he ends up, I think I got a villager kill there. Let's take a look at that. Get a villager kill. So again, you want to tower rush with Byzantine on their front berry if they have one. Probably even their back berry if they have one, if you can ever get units back there to reinforce. And then I think you just go, there's a few things you can do just based on what unit comps they go for. Mass Archer is very effective against their unit comps. Just because if they go Archer Limitani, your Mass Archer kills that. Here I go triple comp, where I have Spears, Archers, and Keshik, is what we're going to see. The Keshik, you know, handles his archers for the most part and makes him go into needing Limitani. That was probably just a dangerous dive by the Keshik, kind of unnecessary there into the town center. And then once he goes into Limitani, you just double produce archers and kill those, and then you can basically kill everything he has, right? So again, just push him off berries, push him off gold. In this position where I was playing, I really would love a tower on the wood line, because he's only got one wood line that's secure at the town center, and the other wood line is not secure. He'd have to go way out on that wood line. And I already had spears, so I'm just using them here. He's still trying to get that wood wall up, which I've managed to keep him from getting up, and there's one hole in it that I can run my units through. And now you can see he's going Lippany Archer, and I finally come out here and get a tower up. I love that. Now he's going Lippany Archer, I'm going Keshik Archer. Keshik Archer will beat Lippany Archer, right? Because your archers, all they need to do are kill the Lippany. That's it. You use the Lippany, you use the archers to kill the Lippany, and once all the Lippany are gone, you just run over the archers with your Keshiks. Even once there's just a few Lippany, if you miss micros the Lippany, you get some hits with the Keshiks and archers. If you miss micros the archers, same thing. So you can see here, even though he's got a few Lippany, I got my mass up and I could just go ahead and take a fight, right? I didn't really need to do a whole lot else. So we're getting arrow slits on the tower, which is solid. I'm actually bringing the villagers through here. Again, like I said, this is an old game, so not fresh on my mind. And I'm placing a second tower. So this is getting dangerous for him for sure here. Just to completely confirm the block off of berries and gold. And pausing here for a second, because you can kind of see the snowball, right? You start snowballing this when you're Mongol playing against Byzantine. You can mass units better than them early game. If you let them get on mercenaries with their berries, they'll outmass you for sure. Especially once they have the cisterns up, they have a much stronger economy. So you got to kind of take this early attack, this early Dark Age rush, which I recommend the tower, and then you snowball it. Again, always checking deer to see if he's moving out. I actually just took a couple archers and sent them up there to check if he was moving to the food or not. You can actually see he's moving his villagers up there because he moved everyone off the wood. So you can see he's moved his entire army. And I actually wouldn't hate building just a few spearmen to garrison the towers, to be honest. So I see he's moving up here with the army. I pull my entire army. More kills. Research siege engineering, because he got outposts. That's where the majority of his food is. See, this is why, see if I can capture that frame. He went and attacked the tower. This is why just having some 5 spears garrisoned in that tower would be ideal. Because then he can't just burn the tower with villagers when you move your army. If you have the 5 spearmen, he'll lose a couple villagers trying to burn it. So mistake by me there. Can still rotate the Keshiks to solve the problem. But this game could have been even more snowbally for me if I had gotten towers up earlier and spearmen inside them, and then that north side with the double deer berries I just denied with the army. That would have been way easier. So you can see he's trying to move woodline because I'm towering his woodline. So it's just super difficult for Byzantine to defend this early push. It's just super difficult, man. You can see he's got a decent military mass now, but my archers will literally kill his entire military mass. Because he's got a Lippany archer. He doesn't even have longbows or javelin throwers or anything. Like, again, at some point they're going to slip up. You get a couple villager kills with Keshik, which is always solid. Should have got my +1 range defense much earlier, just because I'm fighting against archers. Keshik are good here. If you're full in excess food, I wouldn't hate mixing in horsemen here as well, just for the mass. I like doing that if I'm floating a little food. And then, you know, he's off his top food. He evacuated everyone, so I just sent in the rams, and then he's going to try to go defend this tower. But you use, in these engagements, you always need to use your attack speed arrow for your archers. That gives you a really big advantage in this fight. Like, that's 50% increased ranged attacks or attack speed for 5 seconds, dude. That's like massive in a fight, man. So he has got a couple javelin throwers here. And if you get the upgrade these days, you have it for 10 seconds. So like you can take a prolonged fight with that con arrow and be doing really well. I notice I'm floating a little resources, not building Keshiks as fast as I want, so you get some more production down there if you start floating resources. And again, I've cleared an amount of food. Main thing, you just want to trap this guy in his base. I'm trading behind it, even though this is like pretty crappy trade. Just because I have Silver Tree, a lot of maps show a better trade than this, but you just want to keep Byzantine in their base and deny resource denial on their base, right? Now that I've got some trade up, I've got more villagers on food, and just trade with the gold, I just start cranking in Keshik numbers. Once you get, you know, high amount of Keshik numbers, archers to kill Lippany. Keshik are definitely a better en masse unit. So, again, I have rams. A lot of the time you can probably kill Byzantine players without the rams just because you choke them with resources. But I have rams here, and of course every building destroying, I'm getting the bounty. Which is really good for me. As you can see, just continually streaming Keshiks. And this is why Dark Age Rush, especially Dark Age Tower Rush against Byzantine, is just so dominant. It's a total mismatch. If you Dark Age Tower Rush a Byzantine player, that's one of the few matchups in the game where you should probably win every time you do that. It's nothing's an auto loss, but it's as close, one of the closest auto lost matchups I think that there is in the game. Because they take time to get that olive oil coming in, crank up their mercenary numbers, get their economy going with the cisterns. Like, it's a very slow build up for Byzantine, where it's a very fast-paced attack with Mongol. Like, they're opposites in what they're good at. And I mean, look at my military mass, dude. I haven't even killed many villagers of his, but my military mass is giant compared to his. 21 Keshiks, man. Could probably take most of his army just with Keshiks at this point. So, I think we're going to see an end of the game fight here, but you don't even need spearmen here. If he started mixing in horsemen, you know, like large amounts of horsemen, you'd probably need just some spearmen. Like, you can do it with Archer Keshik, but if he mixes in a lot of horsemen and just charges you, then there's nothing really to protect your archers, so... We see a big fight here. He's actually got a pretty big mass as well. So just letting the archers do the work here, really, and once the archers have done the work... Here, you want to micro the archers onto the spears, but I just had a big enough archer mass. I knew I could kill his archers and javelin throwers. And then on the left side, I'm actually sending guys in. I was sending them to the berries if he was getting those. Now you just commit the Keshiks, right? Like, the archers have done enough damage to the overall mass. You've traded archers pretty effectively. And you kind of run around with the Keshiks, kill what you can. In the meantime, bait some charges. And then, boom, you know, you go in and you seal the deal with Keshiks. So, I hope that was helpful. You know, I went through this game kind of fast, but I wanted to get a Byzantine game in here because that's the best way to do it. I rarely play against Byzantine on ladder these days, so it's kind of hard to get examples of this. But Tower Rush against the Byzantine... Still saying that's S tier. You want to tower rush their berries, and it's pretty close to a GG when that happens. So, yeah, if y'all enjoyed that, we'll get to a conclusion here and wrap things up. But drop a like on the video. Thanks so much for watching. What's up, Conquerors? In conclusion of this video, I think you've seen some pretty cool stuff, and I think it'll help you a lot in your Dark Age rushes and your builds, regardless of what civilization you're going to play, whether that be Mongol, Japan, Order of the Dragon, HRE, any civ that you're going to use to do a Dark Age rush. I think this video will help you a lot. If you enjoyed this video, just drop a like. If there's any other types of guides or questions or comments or concerns, anything you want to talk about, drop a comment on the video. If you want to support the channel and continue to see these types of guides and videos, just hit the join button below this video. And appreciate everybody for watching. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next guide. Thanks so much.